Yeah, it was great. Saturday was a great day for our program. Bounced back from a disappointing loss at Kentucky. Had a really good week of preparation, of practice. I think our minds were right. Long trip again, third week in a row, long trip. Guys really handled that well. Early game, and far from perfect, but I think all three phases stepped up. And again, we talked a lot about just really solidifying our identity, and I really believe that happened in a lot of spots. Got close at the end and was able to pull it out. So just a really, really fun day. Really excited about coming home to play Central Connecticut. First home game will be on September 21st. There's a bunch of guys on our team that haven't been at a game yet, because they've all been away. And so just having everybody together for the first time on a game day will be a really big deal. Being with our home crowd, on the gray turf in the factory, with the new building, a lot to look forward to.
Last FBS team to open their home schedule. What does it mean, as you comment a little bit more on finally getting the opportunity to be in this place in front of your home stands?
I mean, I'm excited about it. I'm sure our guys are too. It just, there's something about, being where you practice and where you live, and for the local community and for families and all that. I mean, we have a lot of traditions here and haven't been able to start some of those yet, for the season. So I think it's going to be a really big deal.
John?
Coach, would you talk about the play in the trenches? Offensively, on the offensive line, you guys ran the ball great. Defensively this week, the defensive line did a great job of getting after the quarterback when they seemed to struggle with it against Kentucky. What was the difference up front on both sides of the ball for you guys?
Well, I think that from the outside, you might look at statistics from the Kentucky game, rightfully so, and say, hey, can Eastern Michigan run the football? Well, we didn't really try to against Kentucky. It was part of the plan to spread them out, and attack them in the air, and then maybe when they're not expecting it as much and spread out, then we could hit them some in the run game. And so it was important for us because we knew we had to deal with Illinois' movement and just giving up 1.1 yards a rush in the previous two games. We knew that it was going to be a challenge, but we also knew the whole time that we could run the football, not just against Illinois, but we could just run the football. It was just a game plan a decision versus Kentucky. Nevertheless, we knew it was going to be a monster challenge versus Illinois, and again, not perfect, but we did rush the ball and felt good about a lot of how we were able to move the ball on the ground versus Illinois. Defensively, we really had two challenges with our defensive front. One, the interior of our defensive line just felt as though we gave away too much in the run game versus Kentucky. Really challenged the guys last week, and we got better play out of the interior of our defensive line this week versus Illinois, no question. And then the second piece, I mean, you're hitting on the right questions. Can we get pressure, with the four-man front, and then, creatively and at the right time with the blitz package. And Coach Nethery and the defensive staff really challenged the guys on the interior of the defensive front, and then put a great plan together in terms of getting pressure. And we felt as though that we were really successful in executing those two plans.
Staying with defense, you guys have been outstanding coming out of the half in the third quarter in shutting teams down. What kind of magic's going on in that locker room at halftime? You guys come out in the second half and make such good adjustments.
Yeah, again, Coach Nethery and the staff, they know our defense inside and out, and so they know. You don't ever know exactly how you're going to be attacked, but then, he does a great job of gathering information on every play, and then has just a systematic approach of dissecting, what adjustments need to be made. And, sometimes it's really, really simple and just a few things. Sometimes it's a technique adjustment that the plan is sound and it's a technique issue. But nevertheless, I just, have full confidence that those guys, you give them those, 15 minutes together after a half of collecting information, that they're going to get our guys in the right spot. And our defensive guys, to their credit, know how to make those adjustments and execute them there in the second half.
Is it a blessing to have this many offensive weapons? Week 1, it's Dylan Drummond gets a couple touchdown receptions. Cannon has a big catch, and Latu against Kentucky. Arthur Jackson comes up big this week. Can you speak a little bit to the weapons you have and Mike Glass's ability to use all of those weapons?
Well, yeah, I think that Illinois came out and played man from the get-go and knew that could potentially be an option for them to say, hey, look, we're better than them. Let's man them up. Their completion percentage is not as high versus man. And then we ended, the first quarter with 14 points, on 2 big man-beater pass plays. And I think that got them back into their normal defensive plan, which is to play too high and then to mix in some of the man. And so both of those weren't Arthur's. One of those was Matt's. But we do have different weapons, in the receiving corps. It really isn't a situation where we're trying to find a guy. It really isn't. It's really Mike has the ability to say, versus this structure, this is who's going to be open, or this is what we're reading, and we're going to take what people give us. Not a surprise to anybody on our football team that Arthur, came up big. No question about that. And then I think really what's interesting too is, Steven ended up coming out of the game. City went to tackle, and so a little shuffling there on the offensive line, didn't miss a beat. I think that's just a huge point, to what's happened. Didn't have Kevin McGill for the game. Clay Holford went down. Shaq went down, and we really, sort of maintained our level of play throughout. So my point in all that, is that it always starts with the offensive line. It always does. Did an awesome job protecting Mike. Had 1 sack, and we may have left the pocket a little bit early on that one, and maybe unnecessarily, against a team that had the nation's leading sacker. And then Mike, getting to him, great job making decisions, and he's just very accurate. And then I think part of the story of that game too was a great job by Coach Keenan, the offensive staff. Saving some of that, the zone read, gun run for later in the game, and I think it really hurt him.
Kempton Shine had to play because you mentioned McGill was out. Shine got exposed a little bit against Kentucky. Did not see the same thing this week. Can you talk about the play of that freshman and how you're able to plug him in and fill holes?
Yeah, he's playing not because he has to, but because he's good enough and is going to keep on getting better. And now that he's got these games under his belt, I mean, you go, Coastal, you go to Kentucky, and then you go to Illinois. You're talking about the non-conference, and now we're at home for the first time with Central Connecticut. We are gaining, guys like Kempton Shine are gaining just really valuable experience. Some of that's painful, but that's, when Kevin and Vince and Jalen Phelps were freshmen playing too, they had some painful moments. So we think he's good and only going to get better.
Is McGill going to be available this week?
Don't know yet. We'll hear from our trainers this afternoon, and he was doubtful for last week, and is getting better every day, but we don't know yet.
Not that one player can change the course of the game, but it seemed like after Simeon put the hit on Peters was never quite the same the rest of the game. Can you talk about Simeon's play a little bit?
Yeah, it was a great hit, and that was part of our plan with the pressure is how well will he respond to some pressures and getting hit. And a number of people have said that, that it may not have been quite the same. I know that 4th and 10 ball was pretty darn good. So, but yeah, we think he's a really good player, but we were able to get to him. And the more we're able to do that, especially with our 4, the better off we're going to be.
Kudos to sneaking Grissom into the game, even upstairs. We couldn't quite tell he was in until it happened, but he's an absolutely explosive player. Will we be seeing more of Grissom in that type of role as the season goes on?
Yeah, it's been a couple years now of really kind of figuring out his skill set. He was at quarterback, and now he's playing wide receiver and really doing a really good job at wide receiver. Getting the ball in his hands is a priority, and having a package for him that he can end up being really good at. His play in a game like that. I mean, the statistics were almost exactly even. In so many categories. And in that second series, his run for the 47 yards ended up being a pretty big deal, because when we, get untracked offensively, we've gotten to some pretty good flows and have gone well, but we've yet to get a first down on our first series. And we were just a couple inches short this time, but nevertheless elected to punt. And so I think it was that second series, where Jairus broke it open, and we really, got untracked from there.
Last question for me. You talk about your kicker, Chad Ryland. I mean, he misses an extra point earlier in the game, but he hits the game winner again against a Big Ten team. Do you think we'll see a more consistent Chad Ryland this season?
Yeah, I would say that the story for me with Chad was the 52-yarder. That was just very well executed. So, I mean, call it a chip shot. I mean, there's still some pressure and whatnot, but, the game winner was just a matter of, doing what he does mechanically, and having missed the extra point, just, flushing and going 1-0 and whatnot. But I believe in Chad. We believed in Chad from camp a year ago. And, he wasn't perfect last year. But I'm telling you, for me, it's less result-oriented. There's some result measuring stick. But even when he wasn't perfect last year, his process and just his makeup and, his character and mentality and all that, I really, he still has to go and make kicks and all that, or, somebody else is going to have to do it. But I honestly have never really been worried about whether, Chad was going to be a consistently really good kicker for us.
Yeah, so you guys have only been 3-1 once since you came here, and you got a chance to do that with a win against Central Connecticut. Can you just talk about what a win would mean for the program and this current team and going forward too?
Yeah, so, there's a lot of talk about streaks and whatnot, and everybody's talking about 3-0 versus the Big Ten. Well, the streak that we're talking about, in our room in here is 0-10. And that's been our record over the last 2 years after the Big Ten wins. We went 0-6 in 2017 after we beat Rutgers, and we went 0-4 after we beat Purdue last year. So we're 0-10. So you can look at it as 3-1. We're trying to go 1-0 this week. That's always our streak. But at the same time, we're very conscious of the fact that we've been in a lot of tight overtime, go for 2-point games in those 10 against really good people. So I'm not saying that we haven't played good football, but the reality of it is our streak is 0-10. And so, in 5 days, we got an opportunity to play at home for the first time against a 3-0 team, okay, which is very dangerous, who 100% believes that they can come in here and beat us. And we have the opportunity to, to break another streak, one that we're not proud of.
And then through 3 games, you guys have 9 sacks and you forced 7 turnovers. Can you talk about why you guys have been able to create such big plays on defense?
Well, I'll tell you, with the takeaways and the Corey Hernandez takeaway, and Brody's to some degree as well, but the Corey Hernandez, if you got our team together and we said, whose ball is it, our team would shout our ball. And I mean, he literally took that ball away from the receiver, took it away from him. So there are, the turnover category where, the offense gives it to you, and then there's takeaways. And, that was a takeaway. And I don't know that it's possible for us to train physically or mentally anymore ball disruption and taking the ball away. If there is, we're going to do it. So our staff does an awesome job with that. And the opposing team always has something to do with it, right? I mean, you can be very ball aware and punch and rake and all of those things. And if they take really good care of the ball, then it's tough to take it away. But we just know that outside of the final score, that's the number one statistic. And I think everybody knows that. So the challenge is knowing that, can you in the game actually be ball aware and execute those techniques? And our defense does a tremendous job doing that.
Your
two student athletes you have today, one has been with the program for all his career, the other one has just been here the last 2 years. But if you would speak on what Hunter Andrews has meant for you and the defense. I mean, he's been able to be shifted around, tight end, offensive line, defensive line. He's kind of been a utility guy. What has he meant overall?
Well, both of these guys that you're going to get to hear from are selfless, and probably one of the greatest compliments that I could give. Hunter, can't believe, I remember the home visit. I can't believe it's already been 5 years. But we've asked. Hunter played basically an odd outside linebacker in high school, where he'd rush the passer some, but also drop in coverage. And he's 6'5" and did not weigh what he weighs now then, but very athletic. And so we had him come in as a defensive end, have asked him to move inside to put on weight to play on the interior. It's what we did last year. And now we've asked him to take off weight again and to play defensive end. And, we even talked to him about tight end and did that for a small period of time. And, his answer is just always yes, sir, and however I can help the team, and he has helped the team. His flexibility, he's talented enough that he can play, all of those different positions, and is really off to a great start in his redshirt senior year. And then Thomas Odukoya, one of the very best tight ends that I've ever coached, has come in here and has healed his broken foot, and is an awesome leader on our team, and I just feel as though he's a dominant blocker, and then also an asset in the pass game as well. Two guys that can't respect any more than I do, and are part of the reason why we're off to a solid start.
Anything else with Coach before we bring up the student athletes?
I got a couple
Sure,
questions.
go right ahead.
So Shaq had 22 carries in week 1, and then Sensi's only had 11 combined. I know you said he got shaken up in the last game. Can you give us, a status update or anything about him?
We'll find out more, but he left the game because of an injury, not for any other reason. And then in the Kentucky game, again, we just didn't choose to rush the ball very much in that game. So I think that the first game would probably be more indicative of who we are. So he got banged up a little bit in the Illinois game.
Thank you. And then, defense has allowed 6 rushing touchdowns so far through 3 weeks. Central Connecticut had 4 last week, including 315 yards on the ground. Do you have any course of action you're going to look through for practice this week to prevent that from happening again?
Yeah, so we always want to limit the run, stop the run the best that we can, and then we want to have no more than 3 explosive plays in a game. So I think that 2 of his touchdowns were for over 70 yards, 75 and 85 yards. Yeah, so that is no bueno. If that's happening to us in any game, it's going to be a long afternoon. And so always start from the inside out. Mentioned, after the Kentucky game, that our interior defensive line play had to improve, and it did to Illinois. And we have to continue on that track to face, another very explosive back. No question. Yep.
Thank you, Coach. We'll bring up Hunter first.
All right.
Questions?
Hunter, talk a little bit about the defensive play for the unit as a whole against Illinois. You heard me ask Coach, it didn't seem like you guys were able to get much pressure on Wilson at Kentucky. It was a completely different story against Peters and the Illini this week. What was the difference for you guys defensively?
I think we really challenged ourselves coming after watching the film in Kentucky week. We didn't get that much pressure, so we really, as a D-line, wanted to challenge ourselves and get more pressure on the quarterback, and just be relentless, keep getting after them. We knew if we did that, then it could be a game changer for the defense. So we just wanted to keep improving and improve off of that.
What was the feeling at the end of the first quarter? It was kind of an offensive shootout. It was 17-14 after 1 quarter. Then things kind of settled down for you guys. What was kind of the difference as the game moved along?
Yeah, I think we just kind of, we kind of figured them out, settled down, made some adjustments that really helped us, and Yeah, I think we just kind of realized they're just like any other team. We're not scared of anyone, and we came out there and we're playing like our hair was on fire.
Talk a little bit about the hit that Simeon put on Peters, because it seemed, at least from a fan vantage point, the game changed for Peters. Seemed a little more unsure in the pocket. Were you guys kind of feeling that after getting to him a few times, a couple sacks, that the game was changing for you guys?
Oh yeah, definitely. Sean came flying off the edge and hit him, and that happened right in front of me, and you could tell he wasn't liking that. So we think that really helped, kind of get in his head, and we just kept getting after him, and I think that affected him and helped us.
Do you have to be careful not to get too high after a win over Illinois? Central Connecticut State comes in, if you look at it on paper, it's a game that Eastern Michigan probably should win. Is there danger of this being a trap game when you come off such a high game, of maybe overlooking a team like Central Connecticut State?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like Coach talked about, we're 0-10 coming off a Big Ten win, so we just want to go 1-0 every week. They're just like any other football team. We're not going to look too high of them or too low of them. We just want to go in there and play our best, and they're going to come and be like, oh, Eastern Michigan, they're cocky coming off a big win. We can go in there and beat them and shut them up, but we just got to keep a level head and just prepare for them like any other team.
Question? I got one question. So Vince had 15 tackles and 9 solo tackles last week. Talk about his leadership in the locker room.
Yeah, so Kentucky week, we didn't have too good of a week of practice. He really, he brought us together as a defense, and his leadership, kind of set us straight, and I think that was a big part of this week. We had a great week of practice, and that was because of him, and him, leading us and making sure our process was better than it was last week. And he played great in the field, but that leadership and the things that the fans don't see was key to our success last week.
Given your history growing up in Lapeer, certainly Lapeer in this program in recent history has been able to have a lot of impact between yourself, a guy like Max who grew up there before moving to Texas. What is the ability to represent and play well in state meant to you in playing so close to home?
Yeah, it means a lot. Kyle Rockwell is from Lapeer. Me and Max was there for a point. The last big college football player was Jake Long, so it was really important that us three represent Lapeer and in-state, being close by. I know we go back and we go help out camps and everything, and we're looked up to, and it's really important to go back to our community, talk to them, give advice, and it's been really nice. Been blessed for this opportunity to be able to go back and make an impact.
After 3 weeks on the road, what does it mean for you and this team to finally get to play in front of your own fans?
It means a lot. We got a lot of experience playing on the road. I thought we traveled well. We have a lot of new faces. I'm excited to get back here, be with the whole team, play with the new building, our fans, have all our family here. I think it's going to be a very important night, big night of us going out there and playing our best football.
Anything else for Hunter?
Just one for me, Hunter. Coach talked about you as being a fifth-year guy here, and obviously you've been a part of all the highs and lows that have come in those last couple of years with the program. I've heard Coach talk a lot about it, and I just want to know from your perspective as a player, he's mentioned for quite some time that you guys embrace the underdog type of role, the mentality, the blue-collar mentality. I think I heard him this week use a phrase along the lines of, you guys have an opportunity as players to either prove people wrong or make them right. So after a big win like Illinois, what's still left to prove for you guys, and is it a week-by-week basis, or is there kind of a next goal that you're looking at as something to accomplish?
Yeah, I think our next goal is just to go out and beat Central Connecticut. We're 0-10, like we've talked about. I think just every game is our next goal. Our bigger goal is to win the MAC championship, but we're just going 1-0 every week. We want to go out and prove people wrong, but we can't control what's outside this program. We know what we have, and we're just trying to go out and just go 1-0 every week.
And then you've gotten to be a part of a lot of home openers here. Coach mentioned all of kind of the traditions that you'll get to have for the first time this year, and seeing the home fans and the new building. Just for everything that kind of encompasses that, as a fifth-year guy, what's your message to some of the younger players or some of the guys that haven't been here as long about also using that to stay focused on the game at hand this week? Can it be a little bit distracting even to have all of that kind of around you, and how do you deal with that?
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be a lot of hype coming off a big win, new building, it's our first home game. I think for the newer guys, it's going to be probably a little, distracting, but I think we're a mature enough football team that it's not going to, get in our head, and I think we're going to go out there, play really good football, and I think our leadership, we have a lot of seniors. I think the younger guys will see how we conduct ourselves, and we'll carry on when they'll get older and, start a tradition.
Thanks, Howard. Thomas?
Offensively, you guys, you heard me ask Coach, you have a lot of weapons. Give me your kind of offense perspective on how just anybody can step up on any given week, including yourself.
Our depth has improved a lot, I believe. Receiver, running back, tight end, O-line. We have a lot of guys that could just come in and play well, and you've seen that the past week that, the second string guys are performing just as well as the first string. So it's a really good thing for a program, I think, and for an offense that, everybody who makes plays during the week, during practice, and shows that on game day, gets to play.
On the flip side, is it frustrating when you don't get your touches, when balls go in other places?
Of course, I personally haven't touched the ball yet this season, and it's not frustrating for me at all. Actually, I'm, carrying out my role, doing my job to the best of my ability. Right now that is blocking a lot, so I focus on that and try to, give the best blocking that I can give to this team.
I know Coach said he wasn't trying to run the ball much against Kentucky. You guys ran it quite a bit against Illinois, and you guys were very successful at it. What was the difference for you guys in the trench? Was it just the fact that you were running more plays, or that you guys were able to exert a little bit of physical dominance over Illinois?
Coming into the week, we kind of knew that, we were going to run the ball a lot more. I think against Kentucky, we had over 50 passing attempts, and this week we knew that was probably going to be less, and we were going to be more of a balanced offense that I know we can be. So, that hyped us up, and, me, the O-line, the other tight ends, all the blockers, we had a great time in the trenches.
What is Mike Glass like in the huddle late in a game like that? You guys, there's a minute 44 left. You go on that final drive. As the game gets down to the wire, what is his demeanor in the huddle?
To be honest, for Mike Glass, it doesn't really change for the last play of the game or the first. He always just goes hard. He's focused. He's kind of like more of the calm guy, not always the hype scream guy, but he just keeps his poise and calmness and, leads his offense in a way that he does, really successfully and effectively.
What do you see as the key to this week, not just in playing Central Connecticut State, but being at home after being through 3 tough road games? Do you have to worry about a letdown when it's not an easier week, but you don't have to do the travel, you don't have to fly, you don't have the 5 or 6 hour bus ride? Things change this week.
Yeah, they do. The conditions change, but I think the preparation for the week stays the same. We will still practice, our regular schedule, still work hard, and hope for a 1-0 result on Saturday.
Charles? You're good?
Thank you.
Thomas, talk about what it means to you this year to finally be at a really good spot with your health and being fully healthy. Has it been nice for you to be able to focus just on football, and how are you feeling this season, and what's kind of been the highlights for you so far?
It's been great. Last year I came in January of 18, re-fractured my foot in the spring, re-fractured my foot in camp, missed the first 5 games of the year, came back in limited play, limited reps during the rest of the season, and that hurt me, of course, and then got it fixed again in the spring, and now I'm feeling 100%. I feel completely healthy. I don't have to worry about, is my foot going to hurt this week or is it not? So it's been really good, and I've been able to focus a lot more on the game and less about am I doing everything right with my foot? So it's been really good for me.
Talk a little bit just briefly about the tight end group that you guys have. I know how much you think of your teammates in that position, but from our perspective too, to have a guy like yourself or a Bryson or Bryce Kemp, who really, it seems like everybody has the ability to run block, the ability to compete for catches. How impressive has this group been from your inside perspective, and what does it mean to the team?
I mean, for myself, I feel like we've improved a lot this year coming off last year. Big thanks goes to our coach, Coach Reeves. He has developed, I think, 4 players right now, including myself and Bryson Cannon, and Gunnar Oakes that, can play basically every snap. We can all block, we can all catch the ball, we can all run routes, we can all pass block. So, I mean, it's been really impressive to me seeing, the whole group lift their level as a whole and, help this team and help this offense win more games.